to handle.
Yeah.
Speaking of great young players, to the NFL, where Jayden Daniels is coming off an incredible rookie season, leading the Commanders to the NFC Championship and taking home Offensive Rookie of the Year honors. In a recent interview, Jayden talked about his approach for year two and said, quote, "Last year was last year. That's great, but it's a whole new year now. I still got to go out there and I've got to prove myself to my teammates, the organization, each and every day that I'm getting better," end quote. Now, the reason I bring this up, Jayden Daniels actually just had, this is not hyperbole, the single greatest rookie season in NFL history. First across the board in every major statistical category. You see it there. What jumps out to me, 14 wins, and then obviously the total touchdowns, 37. Colin, we talk a lot about culture. You know what helps culture? Winning. You know what helps winning? Great quarterback play.
Yeah.
Jayden Daniels is exactly that.
Yeah, and in a division with Philadelphia, it's pretty obvious what they have to do to get better. Draft O-line and D-line help. You are not beating Philadelphia. No. And this is also a cold weather conference. Philly, Washington, New York. Okay, so it's a cold weather conference. What does that mean? Vertical passing games have limitations. That's why Debo fits.
Yeah.
You know, Debo can do underneath stuff, jet sweep stuff. You can put him out of the backfield.
Sure.
Debo's a really smart, like these northern conferences, you're not throwing the ball down the field a lot in December and January. So I think Washington's just got to get more physical, bigger up front, more depth, and they'll just be fine.
Yeah, going back to Cliff Kingsbury, we talked about it last week, not wanting to leave Washington because he didn't want to leave Jayden Daniels to pursue New Orleans. They got Dan Quinn. They got a good GM, Adam Peters. Washington, I think maybe you get a tight end as well, maybe one more weapon. But to your point, offensive, defensive line is the key.
Just building defense is the key. I've said this so many times. I'm not going to go on that whole rant again. Defense is the key. Defense is the key. Defense is the key. Jayden Daniels is special. You have enough offensively. The defense, once you start making these games smaller and easier for Jayden Daniels, because the defense is going to get him better field position, extra possessions, as well as keeping the score lower, Jayden Daniels will take care of the rest. Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know Jayden Daniels balled, had the best rookie season of all time. It's funny that he says the wins stood out to him the most, which is, it just shows you how confused people get, honestly. The wins are impressive, right? You got to win games, but like, no, I'd say the completion percentage, the total touchdowns, the total yards, the rushing yards, like that actually is more impressive to me than anything else, quite frankly, because it shows that you're a massive reason as to why you have those 14 wins. What I think that the Commanders have going for themselves right now is that they're pretty fortunate. It's kind of weird because it's both a positive and a negative. The Eagles, who have obviously won the Super Bowl in their division, beat them in the NFC Championship game. You know who the Eagles are. They're a pretty clearly defined team. So that really gives the blueprint for the Washington Commanders in terms of like who we need to beat in order for us to now become the NFC East champions, for us to become the Super Bowl champions. Like it's very clearly defined. When, for instance, when the Eagles were kind of up and coming and they went to their Super Bowl in 22, and then obviously, in 24, like it wasn't really clearly defined. You knew the Chiefs were out there and stuff like that, but even in 22, like the Chiefs at that point, right, they only had the one Super Bowl in 2019, I think it was, right? Because then they won 22, 23, right? Yeah. So, not to mention that's the AFC, right? And then the NFC, you're kind of like, who is our competition? Is it the Rams? Oh, I don't know. They just won a Super Bowl, but like Stafford, is he getting old? And is Cooper Kupp really that dude anymore? And OBJ now left, and Aaron Donald's retiring. You're like, I don't know. The Commanders are a mess. Sorry, they were at the time. The Cowboys are like, okay, they're a pretty good team, but like, I know they win 12 games and all, but like, they don't really look that special in the playoffs. And then you're like, okay, with the 49ers, you're like, well, from an Eagles perspective, you're like, Brock Purdy, are we scared of Brock Purdy, or is it Jimmy Garoppolo's the quarterback now? Like, things are just very unclear where all these other teams were going, who was going to be the top team in the NFC. And again, the Eagles are just so clearly defined, right? Who they are, how they won, what it took to win. You can use not only a blueprint in terms of the type of team that you need to build to beat them, but also in terms of what clearly wins games against not only yourself, which is important to know. You need to know how you can be beaten, but also you see them how they beat the Ravens. Oh, they beat the Ravens and we did not. Why not? And it's beyond just talent. That's why you can't just be like, oh, well, they have A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley. You got to look beyond that. You got to look and see how the game unfolded. And I pointed this out in a video like a couple months ago where it was like the defense. That defense was the big difference as to why the Eagles beat the Ravens and why the Commanders lost to the Ravens. So it wasn't just like, well, they got Saquon, they got AJ. Like, no, it wasn't that. You got to look at everything collectively. You got to look at the complete picture. And again, you can see how the Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs, how they beat the Ravens, how they beat the Rams, how they beat the Commanders. So it's just like it's such a clear, defined picture for them that I think actually really kind of gives clarity to the Washington Commanders. Now, again, it's a gift and a curse because you got the Super Bowl winner in your in your division and in your conference. So that's no easy feat. But I'm always trying to encourage Commanders fans and Eagles fans, and I get it. This is kind of a losing battle. They're rivals, NFC East, all that. But I always try to encourage them to like respect each other. Because it's all too common. You see like Commanders fans like, oh, the Eagles aren't that good. Jalen Hurts isn't a good quarterback, etc., etc. And the same thing, the Eagles fans like, the Commanders, they're nothing. They haven't been good. Jayden Daniels is overrated, sophomore slump, etc., etc. And I'm always kind of like, no. Like respect each other because also beating each other then matters more, right? Like the fact that the Eagles, dominated the Commanders, and yes, sorry, Commanders fans, that you got dominated in the NFC Championship game. You got 55 points hung on you, and the fact that they ended the season for the best rookie quarterback of all time, like that's awesome. So like like Eagles fans should be elevating Jayden Daniels, but yeah, he's special, and guess what? We beat him. That's awesome. Don't downplay the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs were a top team. Everyone kept saying that they were going to three-peat, that they're the best team in the history of the universe, and the Eagles dominated them. And and same thing. Now, if the Commanders beat the Eagles in the playoffs next season or whatever, it's like, don't downplay Jalen Hurts, don't downplay the Eagles. But like, yeah, we just beat the reigning Super Bowl champions. So it's just like, I'm always a firm believer in respecting your opponent when it's deserved, right? You don't just respect everyone in that regard. You don't just say that everyone's great and a top team, but these are two teams that are just going to be so fun to watch, and hopefully, as long as everyone stays healthy, with the next 2-3 years at a minimum, the battles should really just be box office and a lot of fun. Obviously, the Eagles have the head start. They're a more complete team, a more established team. They've obviously have already been to multiple Super Bowls, won. The Commanders are, in the position of from their viewpoint, starting that journey now, and they certainly got their own version of a head start by getting to the NFC Championship game. That's a tremendous amount of experience, and I've talked about this a lot as well. It's also really important to be dominated, to be humiliated, to feel like there's nothing we could do to win this game in this moment in time. Jayden Daniels needs to know what it's like to be on the sideline, looking up at the scoreboard and seeing 55 and just being like, oh my God, this is not how I was thinking this was going to go. It's just so important to have that experience. And I love this quote. Listen, media always likes to blow these kind of quotes out of proportion. The whole, it's a whole new year, I have to prove myself. And oftentimes the media will be like, oh, I love that. That's exactly what you want to hear out of your quarterback. And it's like true. It's definitely true. And I'm glad he said it, but it's also generic. It's par for the course. It's more like, I don't give you credit for having that mentality because it's like, it's like you should have that mentality. I knock you more for not having that mentality than I praise you for having that mentality. Because also it's like, what is he going to say? Yeah, man, I already proved myself. I'm clearly already a top quarterback in the NFL. Everyone's just trying to catch me. Like, he's not going to say that. I'm sure some quarterbacks exist like that. And again, I knock you more for that. I knock you more for saying the wrong thing than for saying the right thing. But at the same time, Commanders fans can at least, go to sleep at night knowing that they have a true leader in the locker room, a guy who has a great head on his shoulders. Ironically, Jalen Hurts had a similar quote before where he's like, every year the rent's due, or every day the rent is due. And again, everyone was like, oh, that's such an amazing mentality. He's so grounded, this, that. And again, it's an accurate statement, but like media just tends to like take it too far to the extreme in that regard. And they didn't really talk about that quote. They just kind of used that quote as a, jumping off point. But yeah, it's funny. Listen, eventually, you're gonna have to look beyond Zach Ertz. But like, I like how he's like, oh, they need to get another tight end or something like that. And it's like, Zach Ertz was actually a top tight end in the NFL for the Washington Commanders. Like when you actually look at what he did in his production, he was like top 5. So like, elevating a tight end is not it's not the difference between beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship game and not. Playing better defense, forcing your own couple turnovers, getting better field position, keeping the score maybe not at 55, even when you do fumble, holding the Eagles to a field goal. They went 7 for 7 in the red zone, and the red zone, again, at that point, has nothing to do with the fumbles because it's its own defense. So if you have a great defense, then again, you can hold them to, a field goal, or 4th and 1, 4th and 2, they decide to go for it. Now they don't get any points. Like, that is how often these games are won. We see this again and again and again and again and again. So, I get this obsession with offense. I'm very hyper focused on offense as well. But, like we always say, like let Jaden cook, let Russ cook, well, let Dan Quinn cook. Okay, he is your defensive head coach. Give him the pieces defensively to build a top 5 defense like he has consistently done for years for multiple franchises. He does that, and it is a wrap. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders, Jayden Daniels, and what this team needs to do to be able to take this next step forward? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.